What's going on, everybody? Just ate a Laffy Taffy that's sticky. How's it going? Today is like May 18th around noon. Actually, it's noon on the dot. And just coming in with another update, another topic. Trying to make videos more often, but man, I'm having a hard time being consistent with videos. My life is just so busy right now. You know, I got young kids and I got work and I got a wife that works full time. You know, it's like a full-time job just trying to keep the house clean. But no, we're about a week and a half out from our quit. A week and a half out from when I make the jump, and I'm excited, nervous. I find myself being preoccupied with being clean. Like, man, I can't wait till I'm just past this again on the road to recovery, you know. Like, give me the post-acute withdrawals, man. I want to be in it. I want to fight. You know, I say that now, and it gets hard. It gets hard, but man, for me, like, I just want to get past that initial brutal detox, you know, for 7 days and get on the other side of that. Just take a deep breath, you know. And that's how it is, guys. I mean, quitting Kratom, I don't know about 7-OH, but quitting Kratom, man, you got to get through that first week. And really, it's like the first 3 or 4 days that are the worst. My experience is really only like day 2 and 3 that's brutal. And I think it's just like that's when my body finally gets it out of the system, right? And my body starts wigging out. But I wanted to talk today about something I've heard kind of, you know, tossed around in the Kratom community. And I've heard people that are in my life who have struggled with Kratom talk about Suboxone. And Suboxone is not just for Kratom withdrawal. They use it for opiate withdrawal, and it is an opiate, right? And I'm not going to come on here and give you a lesson on what Suboxone is. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a pharmacist. I'm not a doctor. So everything I say, take with a grain of salt. Okay, I'm going to be speaking from experience. A lot of it's from what I've heard from, you know, anecdotal evidence, right? This is not a science lecture or a medical lecture of any kind, but I wanted to talk about and also get your opinions on using Suboxone for Kratom detox. And if any of you have done that, I would be really interested to hear your experience. This topic kind of came up recently when I was at the Kratom store, and the guy that was working at the Kratom store, or actually it was a vape store, but they have Kratom. But anyways, he was working there, and he told me he was struggling with Kratom, and that he's very afraid of the withdrawals. And he's like, I'm such a pussy when it comes to withdrawals. I don't want to go through that, you know. I don't want to go through that. And he's asking me how it was, and I was trying to give him some hope and tell him that it sucks, but you can absolutely get through it. You know what I mean? It's going to test you. It's going to test your fortitude. It's going to test how bad you want to be sober, but it's absolutely doable. Don't be afraid. So I checked back in with him after a couple weeks, and I asked him, you know, hey, did you end up making the jump, or are you tapering, or what's your plan? And he said, no, I actually decided to get on Suboxone. And at that time, I didn't know a ton about Suboxone, so I started doing my research a little bit. I kind of knew what it was. My wife's a nurse. My wife is a nurse, and she works in the newborn ICU, the NICU, and they have babies that are, unfortunately, some of them born addicted to opiates because their mom was addicted to heroin or whatever, fentanyl, when the baby was born. And so they have to wean the babies off using, I think it's Sublocade, which is Suboxone, and I think they use some other things, but I was just curious about it, and so started poking around and listened to a lot of anecdotal evidence from people on the internet who have been on Suboxone long-term and short-term, and I kind of just gathered together somewhat of a consensus opinion on what I hear people say about it. And I guess the question I'm asking is it a good idea, if you're stuck on Kratom and you're taking high amounts and you can't taper and you want a cold turkey, to switch to Suboxone and do a Suboxone taper? And I think it's a valid question. I really do. Now, I just want to make it clear, quick disclosure. Personally, I have never used Suboxone. I've never tried it. I don't know. I can't give you personal experience, but I have talked to people who have been on it long term, or have, I've listened to YouTube videos of people who have used it to get off of this or that drug, and tried to gather as much of a perspective as I could so that I'm not completely ignorant in what I'm saying. But again, you may be watching this and you've had experience with Suboxone, and you may disagree with what I'm saying, and you know what, you're probably right. You probably know more than I do since you've experienced it yourself. So hopefully you're not taking this as I'm telling you what to do or anything like that. I just wanted to discuss this topic. Now, Suboxone, as far as I understand it, is an opiate in that it binds to your opiate receptors. However, it's not the kind of opiate that you get high off of. So, when you take an opiate, Kratom included, the drug, it binds to your opioid receptors. Most of them are in your stomach, and that's what gives you a euphoric high feeling. Suboxone, they figured out when they made Suboxone that they could bind to your opiate receptors so that you're not withdrawing, because you withdraw when the opiate receptors get released, right? When the drug stops binding, as you start to detox, that's when you start feeling really not good. So they figured out Suboxone will bind to the opiate receptors, keep them bondaged, I don't know what the word is, and so that you're not going into severe withdrawal, but it doesn't give you a euphoric high. So it's not addicting in the sense that it's, mentally or psychologically addicting, right? But, if you start using Suboxone and you use it every day, you will get physically dependent on it, because your opioid receptors will want that binding to happen, right? It's the same with any other drug. So if you're taking Kratom, it's a partial agonist of your opiate receptors. It's not a full agonist, but even with partial agonists, you're going to get withdrawals, as if you've been through it or you've seen me go through the hell. So people have decided, okay, I'm going to get on Suboxone as a way to either get off of Kratom. I've seen people use Suboxone to taper off of like a 7-OH, like if they're on a high amount of 7-OH, they switch to, and this is medically supervised, they switch to Suboxone and then do a rapid taper off the Suboxone, and it's supposed to help the severity of the withdrawal. Now, I'm not here to judge what people decide to do. Your journey to sobriety is your journey. However, I will provide a little bit of my opinion, I guess, a little bit of my insight. So, I've watched a lot of people who have talked about Suboxone addiction, Suboxone withdrawal, and I kind of compared and contrasted it to Kratom withdrawal. Now, keep in mind, right now I'm talking about Suboxone withdrawal versus Kratom withdrawal, not 7-OH withdrawal. Just want to make that clear, because I want to distinguish between the two. But Suboxone withdrawal seems to be much longer. The half-life of Suboxone is much longer than Kratom, meaning it's going to take a lot longer for Suboxone to get out of your system than Kratom. I don't remember what Suboxone's half-life is, but I'm pretty sure Kratom's is like 24 to 48 hours, something like that. You could look that up pretty easily, but Suboxone's is significantly longer than that. In fact, I've watched people make Suboxone withdrawal videos, and they're in acute withdrawals for like 2.5 weeks, some of them. And so, although the withdrawals from Suboxone are not as intense as, like, let's say oxy or morphine or heroin, I don't know how much worse they are than Kratom. Kratom withdrawal on a high dose sucks, but from what I can understand, Suboxone withdrawal sucks, especially at high doses. Now, ideally, you would taper down on the Suboxone. You wouldn't just jump off at like 24, milligrams or something like that. But, so it's something to consider. Now, so when I heard my friend, he went from Kratom to Suboxone, and he's on Suboxone long term, I was kind of taken aback a little bit. And I'm like, why would you trade Kratom addiction for Suboxone addiction? It seems like you're just making it harder on yourself now, because the half-life is longer. The post-acute withdrawals are going to be longer. I mean, I've seen people who are on Suboxone a few years, their post-acute withdrawals lasted 2 years. Granted, there was months, here and there that were better than others, but, I watched this guy on YouTube who was on Suboxone for, quite a while. I don't remember how many years, but, he said it took 2 years before he felt right. You could be using Kratom for 10 years, guys, and I don't think it's going to take 2 years for you to feel right, for the post-acute withdrawals to go. And when I say he wasn't feeling right, I'm saying everyday depression, depersonalization, anxiety, apathy, like the whole 9 yards, right? Whereas like with Kratom, like you get 9 months down the road, you may have like an hour of feeling a little weird, but then you're gonna be good, guys. So granted, I'm not an expert, but it seems silly to me to trade Kratom addiction for Suboxone addiction. Like you're just going to a worse drug for yourself, and the other thing is people, they may use Kratom, or they may use Suboxone as a quick taper. So let's say I'm on Kratom right now. I'm on 40. Let's just say I'm on 40 grams a day, and I want to do a Suboxone taper. So I figure, I go to a doctor and they say, well, we'll start you on 10 milligrams Suboxone, then we'll go down to 7, and then 6, and then 5, and then after 10 days I'm off the Suboxone, and you still withdraw off the Suboxone once you're done with it. But it seems to me that's a much better way to do it than to go like long-term on Suboxone. However, I still think, in my personal opinion, it is going to be much better for you to just quit the Kratom and don't get on anything else, okay? Because all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. You're still going to have to withdraw. Even if you switch to Suboxone, your opiate receptors, you're going to have to withdraw. They're going to have to come back, right? So you're either withdrawing on something with a much longer half-life or withdrawing on something that's a quicker half-life. In my opinion, I want it to be quick. Ideally, I want the worst of my withdrawal. If I jump off Kratom right now, I want the worst of my withdrawal to be on the first day. Because I don't want to drag it out. I want to get it over with. Yeah, it sucks, but I don't want to be sitting there in anticipation day after day of, it's going to get worse. You know what I mean? It's just, that's the worst, man. And so Suboxone, it's like, maybe it'll make it slightly less intense, but really, like, you're making the withdrawal process longer for yourself. And in my humble opinion, if you're on high doses of Kratom, I would rather you just cold turkey straight off of that than go to Suboxone. I really would. Because you're still going to have to take a decent amount of Suboxone to match how much Kratom you were taking, right? It's not like you can take just a little bit of Suboxone. You're still going to withdraw the difference. And the other thing is you're kind of trading one addiction for another. It is possible, from what I hear, to overdo it on Suboxone, take a bunch of it, and I guess you can get high like that. I don't know. I see mixed things on that. Some people say you can't get high on Suboxone. I would imagine if you took a shit ton of any opiate, including Suboxone, you're going to feel something. But then you're all the way up again, and now you got to taper back down, and it can just create that cycle all again, all over again for yourself. That's why I say, if you're going to be done, just be done. Try to taper on the Kratom if you can. That's what I'm doing. But even that is like not absolutely necessary. Get ready to go through the suck. But you can do it, man. And I don't recommend trading Kratom withdrawal for Suboxone withdrawal. I don't think it's going to benefit you in any way. In fact, it may make it worse. Do your own research, though, okay? Talk to people who have actually done that. And I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions if you did a Suboxone program. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about 7-OH. Again, like I've said, I've never been addicted to 7-OH. I have used it. I've done a lot of research on it, a lot of anecdotal stuff. In my honest opinion, I've always said this, if you're on high amounts of 7-OH, and in my opinion, I think that's like above 300 milligrams a day, in my opinion. That's a high amount. Some people are up to like 1,000. I don't know how they afford that, but 300 milligrams to 1,000, like that's a lot of 7-O. And 7-O's half-life is so short, so small, that you got to take it like every 2-3 hours, right? And so, you stop taking 7-OH, by that night, you're going through literal hell. It's way worse than Kratom from what I can tell. And in that instance, I've always said, if you can go to a treatment program, do it. Not everybody's able to, not everybody has insurance, but to the people who can, do it. And they'll put you on, most likely, a Suboxone taper. They will taper you off. They will switch you from the 7.0 to a Suboxone and taper you down. I think that's worth it. That, obviously, I'm not speaking from experience, but from what I've heard, trying to go cold turkey off high amounts of 7-OH, even if it's only like a couple months of use, is absolutely brutal. And I would rather go through Suboxone withdrawal than 7-OH withdrawal. That's just me. I think a lot of people would agree with me with that. If you can't go to treatment, there's a website called QuickMD where you can go and you can get an appointment and you can get a prescription for many different things. That's where I got my prescription for gabapentin and clonidine, but you can get a prescription for Subutex or Sublocade or Suboxone, essentially. And I don't know exactly how that would work, but if it's possible that you can just order it and you be disciplined and you're getting off 7-0, where you maybe get with your doctor and say, hey, I got Suboxone. How much should I take? How quickly should I taper? Honestly, that's what I'd be doing if I didn't have insurance. I'd try to get Suboxone and figure out the best way to do this. I'm sure AI can help you, the internet can help you, people can help you, but I don't recommend just going cold turkey off high amounts of 7-OH. If you're on low amounts of 7-OH, you might want to switch to Kratom and then taper off the Kratom, or just quit cold turkey off the Kratom. But yeah, I don't trade Kratom for Suboxone in my opinion. However, trade 7-OH for Suboxone, I would say. Don't go to any harder opiates. Don't go to oxys, morphine, any of that crazy stuff. So anyway, Suboxone, it's got its uses. I think there's definitely places where it fits, especially for hardcore opiate addicts. Absolutely, they want to get on Suboxone. And it's 10 times safer than methadone. You don't want to get on methadone from what I can tell. But something to consider, guys. I really don't recommend going from Kratom to Suboxone, though, if that's something you're considering. I know doctors recommend it a lot. I disagree. I think suck it up, get through the Kratom withdrawal. In a week, you'll be feeling a lot better. And then in 2-3 months, you'll be feeling almost normal again, guys. Maybe 4 or 5 months, depending on how long you've taken it. But I'm telling you, after a week of Suboxone withdrawal, you're still in acute withdrawal, right? It sucks. It just prolongs. You don't want that. Man, just deal with the suck and get through it. It's so hard, I know, man. I'm not looking forward to it, but boy, I'm ready to get on the other side again. Please drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I'm completely off my rocker, if I'm ignorant. I very well could be. I really want to hear your thoughts on this, and I think it's a good discussion. I really do. And yeah, I think that's probably about it. Don't have much else to say, but yeah. God bless you guys. Praying for you, those of you who are struggling, who are going to be making the jump or already made the jump. If you're battling every day for your life, man, stay in the fight. We got this, guys. All right, God bless you. I love you. See ya.